I think we're going to see some clarification and perhaps some validation of which business models and which payment types are going to be successful. We're going to see players emerge with the correct business models who are going to take market share. That business model that they use is going to be specifically tailored for local requirements, and I think we're going to see the rise of local players who are going to be fulfilling the unique needs of each market with their own value proposition. We are predicting that due to markets like Singapore and Hong Kong already having high usage of credit cards and debit cards, it's going to be hard to break that credit card and debit card hold on the payments market. Singapore and Hong Kong are similar to the larger, also developed Western markets such as the US and Europe. People in those markets are already used to using credit cards and debit cards for their payments, and I think both for physical payments in store and also for online payments. And we think that that culture of using the card is going to be hard to break. In markets such as Singapore and Hong Kong, we see the potential for mobile payments to be really much more perhaps limited to only NFC payments, so near-field communication payments. So those will mostly be driven by actual in-store physical payments that are paid for by using phone, or perhaps for transport payments. Singapore and Hong Kong are two markets where people use the public transport system. There's potential for public transport to act perhaps as the driver for uptake of these sort of NFC systems using through the phone. Countries such as China, India, Thailand, Malaysia. Most of these markets at the moment, they currently have high smartphone penetration, good enough internet, and also at the same time they also have very, very fast growing e-commerce and m-commerce markets. Now, what you have in these markets is you have a situation where a lot of the consumers in these markets have not had exposure to credit cards and debit cards. With this trend of rising e-commerce and m-commerce, plus high smartphone usage, but with low card usage, we see that there's real potential for wallet-based mobile payments such as Alipay, Tencent, how the successes that they've had there in China. We think that that model could easily be replicated across that Chinese model across to other markets, perhaps local players or perhaps cross-border players who have similar models to those. The last segment of the market would be perhaps countries such as Vietnam, where technology may not quite be there yet, smartphone penetration may not quite be there yet, where systems such as mobile money, which might be more SMS-based, use simpler technology, those might be the primary mobile payment systems which emerge in those markets. At the heart of it, though, in this payment space, I feel that the local players, the local brands who know the markets well and may benefit also from perhaps such regulatory policies which are in their favor. I feel that the local players in their own markets, especially in markets such as China and India, I feel that they are going to have the natural advantages and are going to be the ones who take the most market share eventually at the end of the day. The other area of opportunity will likely be in cross-border commerce. As e-commerce businesses expand and local e-commerce companies, say a Thai company, starts wanting to sell to Malaysia, at this moment it seems that only one of the international players such as PayPal or equivalents will be the ones which can facilitate those sort of transactions. So maybe later on that will be the space PayPal and the equivalents play in. This goes back to what WeChat has done very well, is create an ecosystem for its payments as well. So WeChat started off as a social media service. Later on, started adding other services to the app. What we're seeing now is that WeChat is trying to almost become its own operating system by offering other services and goods such as m-commerce and e-commerce within the application itself, to try and keep the user within that app for as much time as possible, and by doing so to use as many of the features and services within that app itself as much as possible for as long as time as possible. By keeping them there for a long time, they also are trying to get them to spend as much as possible in there while they are in there. It's creating this operating system, this ecosystem with which the user almost doesn't even have to go out of WeChat for most of their functions. WeChat has been pretty successful in building out m-commerce sites within app itself. So it makes it easier for m-commerce sellers, small-time sellers, to build their own m-commerce shop within the actual application itself. That makes it easier. They don't have to go and create their own website, create their own e-commerce or m-commerce package. They can just do it there using a few simple tools within WeChat itself. That gives a natural that simply provides a natural channel for any funds which users have already stored in WeChat to then go and simply spend within the app itself. So this creation of a greater world within the application itself is one of the things I think that others who are working in this payment space in Asia, they need to quickly learn from that, because I think that that's going to be one of the major ways in which payments players reach scale.